Hey, what's up, and welcome to another edition of Path Minutes. Today I'm here to tell you to say, fuck your identity. And this is something I've been saying in so many words to myself for the last couple of years to help keep pushing forward and get out of my comfort zone. Not long ago, I was reading the book, which I believe I've mentioned on the podcast before, but The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And in this book, he discusses what he calls Manson's law of avoidance. And the law goes as follows. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. He goes on to say, this means the more something threatens to change how you view yourself, how successful or unsuccessful you believe yourself to be, how well you see yourself living up to your values, the more you will avoid ever getting around to doing it. There's a weird comfort that comes from knowing how you fit in the world. And as we know, when something shakes our comfort zone, even if it's for the better, which it typically is, that scares us. So your identity to yourself and how others perceive you, how much of that do you bring into your identity? How others think you are? Some examples. You have a dream of always being a screenwriter and writing that great script. But if you do that, that would call into question your identity as a practical insurance adjuster. You do things right. You do buy the book. You make a living with benefits. That's your identity. You're staying with it. And when I look at myself, I've had all these different identities that I've felt throughout the years. And I'll use myself as an example so you can understand more of where I'm coming from. So I grew up and I was an athlete. I played a ton of sports. And my main ones came out to be football and basketball. And I was good at them. I'm not saying I was John Kitna back there at quarterback or Rick Smits playing basketball, but I was good. And that's what I was. I was the kid who was athletic growing up. And I got good grades. But what did that do? I never felt like I was creative, because I felt like if you are creative, you have to be an artist, or you have to have these amazing ideas that I never thought I could have, because my identity was being the athletic kid who did things right and did well in school and did things by the book. That translates into when I'm in college. I go to business school because that's everyone in my family is in business. And if you look at my background, a lot of people growing up translate a lot of times going into business with that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down that route. Graduate college. Again, I'm the one who does everything by the book, and I'm social. I make friends easily. So I'm going to go in to a corporation, become an account manager. And that's what I did. Even though I knew that wasn't the career I really wanted. But again, I identified as one way. So I thought that's what I had to do. That's how people saw me. So that reinforced that identity to me. I didn't think of myself as creative. I've already said that. And then I hear all these stories of entrepreneurs. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I hear the stories of them, and they always had these side hustles growing up, these businesses in grade school even sometimes, but high school and college. I never did that. So that reinforced to me that I'm not an entrepreneur because I didn't do what they did. And then you put them up on a pedestal. There's no way that you can do that. So I identified as doing things right, taking the steps that have been laid out for me in the traditional sense, doing college, going to the big city, getting the corporate job, getting a better job. Everyone says you're doing great, even though on the inside, the deep inside, you know this is not right for you. But on the outside, you're doing exactly what's expected of you because that's your identity and that's how other people identify you. And that's why I'm here to say, fuck that identity. And the key to doing that is taking action and getting out of your comfort zone and doing that thing, whatever that may be. Start doing it. Because when you start to get into it, you get out of that first barrier, then you're going to create motivation for yourself through action. Don't wait to try to get inspired by a podcast or a book or a movie, whatever that may be. Go out and create it for yourself. My first step was quitting the corporate world. Then my second big step was starting a podcast. And that's led me down the whole road. Because I said to myself, screw that past identity. Screw what others identify me as. I'm doing me. I'm going to do what is right for me. What I know in the bottom of my heart. I never interviewed anyone before this podcast. I wasn't some broadcast journalism major. I wasn't the kid who was at the basketball games doing the local broadcast and the local radio. Everyone knows that kid growing up. So I can't be a podcast host, correct? No. You can do it. And for a lot of us, you have that side thing that you do. Whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's doing this and you like to record talking and interviews or something along those lines, or just another career that you know that you would love and it's going to be better for you. You're going to be fulfilled. So truly think about what you want to do, and forget your identity right now and what people think of you. Completely push that aside. And think about what the true next step that you want for your life to be. That's how you start. Start clarifying that. And then take action towards it. I'm not saying you have to quit your job and then start like I did. But start doing it at night. Start doing it on the weekends. Start making the changes. Just make that first step. However little it is, that's often the hardest part. And start creating your new identity that's true to yourself. And that's when things are going to start to happen for you. That's when you're going to grow and learn and find that fulfillment, and doors will start opening. And I'm telling you, put whatever identity you have right now aside, because I have to do it time and time again. And once you're past it, you realize that meant nothing. It's just stories you're telling yourself that served you at some point in the past because it kept you safe from whatever situation. But they're just stories. That's it. It's bullshit. And that, my friend, is going to wrap up Path Minutes for this week. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to end it with, if you know someone who you think would benefit from listening to this podcast, or they would love to hear the interviews or the Path Minutes, whatever that may be, or a certain episode, I ask you to please share that with them, because the whole goal of this is to reach as many people as possible that are looking for this type of content and helping them move forward and take action towards that first step. So with that, thank you for listening, and I will see you next week here on The Unbeaten Path. Later.